Right, so for this card you're going to need an A4 sheet that you cut down to be 5 3/4 by 11.5. Now, as you can see, I've gone and scored it down the middle at 5 3/4. So you end up with a 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 square card blank. One thing you don't want though is you don't want to choose a card blank that's made of really stiff card. So this one here is really thin. Okay, so the back of this, the bit that isn't going to be the windmill, the back we're going to have to reinforce with some more card to make it sturdy. But the front, you really don't want it to be that thick, because you want to be able to bend it. Okay, so once you've cut out your 5 3/4 by 11.5 bit of card, you want to go ahead and score it down the middle at 5 3/4 to make your card blank. You then want to also choose, you want 2 matte layers, and again you want paper. These are, I think these are about 140 GSM roughly. You want something that's, you know, quite flexible. So I've got 2 of these, and these measure 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so we're going to put this to one side for the moment. You also want 2 bits of pattern paper. Again, I say paper. These are, I think, 160 GSM, 140, something like that. You want something around that. You don't want anything like a 200 GSM. That would be too thick, because once you've laid all this up, it's just going to be too much. This is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. Okay, both of these panels are. And you want to choose 2 different patterns, because one part you're going to see on the top and the other part's going to be, so one part is going to be here, but obviously when you bend it over you're going to see the reverse pattern on the other side. So you want to make sure that you've got like contrasting, or, you know, stuff that go together but not the same patterns, something that doesn't look too busy together. Okay, so we're going to put this to one side for now, and we're going to concentrate on the main card itself. So what you want to do is get a ruler and a pencil, and you're going to draw a line from one corner to the opposite corner diagonally. Okay, so you've got going across, and you can do the same on the other side. You're going to draw from one corner to the other corner diagonally. Like that. Okay, now my fold is here. There's my fold. Now you can't see my line very well because I've deliberately done it quite faintly so that I can't see it later on. So now what you're going to do, if you open your card up, is you're going to cut down the lines you've just done, but you're going to stop an inch short of the middle. In fact, if you want to, and I'm going to do that now, is I'm going to go ahead now and make a little mark on my line at an inch from the middle. So there's the middle. I'm going to go an inch up, make a little mark. There's the middle, an inch down, make a mark. Do the same on the other line, because that's where you're going to stop. When you're cutting, that's where you're going to stop. So it's helpful if you make a little mark, because then when you're cutting, you're not going to go get ahead of yourself and cut the wrong place. So I'm going to get my craft knife in, and we're going to cut down until I get to that line, in fact that mark. In fact, I'm going to start from that mark on this one, and then this one I'm going to come down as soon as I get to the mark, which is there. I'm going to stop. Sorry if you saw my head just then, just needed to see where I was going with it. Then you're going to do the same thing on the other line. So again, you're going to go from the corner down, and you're going to keep going until you get to the mark, and then you're going to go from the mark down to the other corner. So you end up with that. So it looks a bit weird. So that's why you leave this bit in the middle, because if you cut all the way, you're just going to cut, your card in half. So yeah, so you just need to do that. Okay. So next, what you want to do is from the bottom here, you want to cut just a bit further up than halfway. You need to cut up about, I would say, so from the top, if you measure down 2 inches and make a mark, and then cut from the 2-inch line all the way down to the bottom, then that should hopefully work. Yeah, that works. Okay, So that's all that you need to do for this card. So it looks a bit weird. Looks like you're hacking it to pieces. So you've got a big old long cut at the bottom and you've got all these cuts here. Okay, so now we're just going to put that to one side for a second and we're going to bring in our mats and our patterns. So with the patterns and the mats, you're basically going to cut both of them in half diagonally, so you've got 4/4 per piece of paper. Oh, the other thing you need is a brad as well, I forgot to mention that. Right, so you can do this two ways. If you want to, you can completely cover the whole of the back in tape and then cut it in half diagonally, which means you've got tape everywhere. That's a very good way of doing it, but I'm going to do it with glue just because I feel like I need a bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to cut these in half now and I'll be back in a second. Right, so as you can see, I've cut my mat up into 4 triangles and I've got 2 layers here. Because it's paper, you can do 2 layers at a time, and the same with my patterns. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and stick our patterns onto our mat layers like that. So I'm going to go ahead and stick all of my patterns down onto my mat layers. Right, so as you can see, I've stuck down my patterns onto their mats. Just bring them in a little bit so you can see. So I've got 2 lots there. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick them onto the front of the card and the inside. But you need to decide what you want to do pattern-wise, because what you stick on the front of your card will actually end up being the inside of your card, sort of. So for example, if I wanted to put, say I decided to put this on the front of my card, this pattern, and I decided to put that on the other side of my card. Let me just quickly show you. In fact, let me do it here. This here, and this was going to go here. Then what you're going to see, because these are going to curl over, you will see more of this underside than you're going to see of that pattern. Okay, so you just need to make sure you work out what you want to be where. I'm going to put this one, this pattern, which is the one I would consider a more gentle pattern. This is going to go on here, because I want that one to be the prominent pattern. Okay, so if you're a bit confused, you'll see in a minute what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stick all of these 4 down on here and all of these 4 on the other side of the card. Right, while that's drying, because I've used wet glue, I'm going to go ahead and get the pieces for this, because I need to build this up, because this is quite thin and it's not going to support the weight of the card. It's very, very flimsy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get those panels out. Right, so for inside, now I've changed it slightly from the original card that I made, just because what I found was I wanted a pattern here, but then there was not really anywhere to write, so you end up having to write on the back. So I've amended it slightly. So for the amended card, you're going to need another matte layer, and this matte layer is 5.5 by 5.5, and we're going to stick that down onto there. Now this card that I've used is the same colour as this one, but this is a card version of that. So this is probably about 200 GSM. You want something a little bit thicker, because this back you really want to build up, because you want that to be nice and strong. Next, I've taken a piece of card, and again, this is probably about a 220 GSM, sort of your normal card making weight really, for card blanks. And this is 4 3/4 by 9.5, so it makes 4 3/4 square card blank, and we're going to stick that on so it's like a tent fold card. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to use tape because I want it to stick straight away. Okay, so that's your card base. And then I've got a bit of pattern paper here, and this one is 4.5 by 4.5, so I'm going to go ahead and stick that in the middle. we go, so that's the inside. So you've got a bit there so you can write your message, but then from the front, when we've done this fold, you're not going to see it. Right, so next what you want to do is take your pokey tool, and where your two lines meet in the middle, you're going to make a hole. If you want to, you can punch a hole using a small punch, but you do only need a small hole because you just need it to be wide enough that you can fit your brad through. Okay, so next what you want to do is you want to go through, now starting from this top left hand corner, you're going to punch a hole at the top, and I would probably come to the top, so where you've got your white bit and then your matte and then your pattern, I would come just to the top of that pattern piece. So it's in far enough that you're not going to tear it, but it's not too far. Now you'll struggle a bit getting it in. If you've got a paper piercing mat, something like this, like a foam mat, that's a good idea to use at this point because you've got enough oomph behind you that you can then stick your thing through, your pokey tool through it and get a good hole. So you want to go about there, I would say. Okay, so you want to go this corner and then not this corner, but so the next triangle, it's the top right hand corner, but you want to go on this triangle, not on this triangle. Okay, so again in the same kind of place, so just above that pattern paper, I would say. Oh. This is another good reason for using thin paper, because even with that thin paper, that is a bit tricky to get through. Okay, then we're going to come to the next triangle and we're going to go to the bottom right hand corner of the triangle, so this bit here, and again we're going to poke in the same place. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to come to this triangle on the left hand side and we're going to poke in that bottom corner on that triangle. And so, I don't know if you can see that very well, hopefully you can. You've got this triangle, top triangle, and it's in that corner, the side triangle in the top corner, the bottom triangle in the bottom right hand corner, and the left hand triangle in the bottom, so that's the bottom right hand corner, bottom left hand corner. Okay, so you need to make sure that it's on alternate ones each time. So now this is the tricky bit. Okay, so what you want to do is you're going to just start to curl all of your triangle pieces round, because you want them, you just sort of gently stroke them, you can bring them round and you want to get them to the middle. If you find that this one here particularly is a bit of a stretch, it's starting to tear, then just trim it a little bit further. I'm going to have to trim mine just a tiny bit further up that crease line because it's just pulling a little bit too much for my liking. So let's try and just curve it like that. Okay, and then we're going to bring the next one round. So basically bringing all of those points that you've just, all the bits you've just spiked, you'll basically bring them all round, so they're all going to connect on top of each other into the middle like a windmill. Okay, so I'm going to bring that round like that. So we're going to do this one, and then in a minute we're going to fasten them with the brad. You might find your paper starts to crease a little bit. That's just because of all the layers. On the video I did previously, I used double-sided card, and that's the reason why I used double-sided card. Because even though I've used thin card and I've used thin matte layers and I've used thin paper, it's still a very big wodge to get through. Okay, this card is now very thick, because if you think you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of paper on this. Okay, so that's that. So now what we want to do is we want to fasten them all together. So if I were you, decide which is your top one. I'm going to make this one the top one. Stick the brad through the hole and then gently stick the brad through the hole of each triangle as you go. Now this is the fiddly bit, and this is rather fiddly, I have to say, but you'll get the hang of it. Oh, there we go. And then when you've done the last one on, you then push the whole lot and it goes through the middle like that, and then just open up your split pin on the other side like that, and that holds it into place. And then just give it a little bit of a encouragement to sit a bit flatter because it'll want to curve forward. Just give it a little bit of encouragement like that. There we go. And then all you need to do is on the back just cover up your brad on the back. Okay, now this is, as I said, this is very thick. This is why I did do it with double-sided card on my last video. So there you go. So that's them, your card, and then that should stand up. Okay, so there's your windmill card. I do hope you'll have a go. As this is not a card you're going to post. You're not going to put this through the post. There's no way. There's no way you're going to put that in the post. This is a hand delivery card only, because obviously the bulk on the front there. But it's quite a nice, fun card, and obviously with summer, you know, with it being summer and that, it's quite a nice card to do. You do need to give this a bit of a coax. You want to keep that bend, but you just need to flatten it slightly. You don't want it too flat. It's flat as a pancake. It loses its appeal. But yeah. So there we go. And mine's wanting to pop up. See there, it's wanting to pop up. Just need to give it more coaxing, and eventually it'll learn to behave. And if not, it doesn't matter, because when you've got it up, it kind of stands proud. It just looks a bit different. So yeah. So that's the card. I hope you'll have a go, and it's quite a lot of fun. These papers as well that I used were Dovecraft, Nature's Grace. Some really nice colours in there. I love the purple and the greys, and then mixed in with the mustard, it's a bit different. So yeah, so hopefully you'll have a go. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.